Did you actually stay up to watch the Ravens lose? Like the whole thing? If you did, I genuinely admire your commitment. Not just to football, but to the type of petty, deep-rooted AFC North spite that makes this sport so addictive. Because if you were willing to give up a good night's sleep just to watch a division rival crash and burn in real time, knowing full well you'd have to be up early for work the next day, then you're exactly the kind of person who gets what Steelers football is all about. But as much fun as it is to watch Baltimore trip over itself, that's not what we're digging into today. That's for some other show in some other city. Here, we've got bigger things to talk about, specifically something I like to call Quarterback Monday, even though today happens to be Tuesday. Now, the reason for the delay is simple. Mondays are for game breakdowns, and this new iteration of Quarterback Monday has to move accordingly. So here we are, and yes, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers again. But this time, it's not about questioning if he's the right fit or worrying about whether he'll mesh with the coaching staff or even debating how much he's got left in the tank. No, this one's about defending the guy, maybe even preemptively. Because while the fan base hasn't exactly turned on him, there are little ripples starting to form, whispers of doubt, fragments of frustration floating around, and I want to get ahead of that before it turns into something louder than it deserves to be. Let's look at the facts. Rodgers came out in Week 1 and gave us a flash of what this offense could be when everything clicks. That game against Seattle had fans dreaming big. He was sharp, he was mobile, he was clutch. But since then, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. Against the Patriots, he went 18 for 33, threw for 203 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. That's a stat line you squint at, trying to find some silver lining. And yeah, you could say it's a little alarming. Then came the most recent performance. 16 completions on 23 attempts for only 139 yards. Sure, the completion percentage looked good on paper, but that's about where the good news ends. 2 touchdowns, another interception, and most notably, no sacks after taking 7 in the previous 2 games. That's progress in one area, but a clear regression in another. So what do we make of all this? It's easy to just stare at the numbers and feel underwhelmed, maybe even disappointed. But if you go beyond the stats and actually watch the tape, you start to see the bigger picture. You see an offense that doesn't trust itself. You see a quarterback who's making the best of a system that's playing scared. You see a scheme that has been stripped down to the point of predictability. And in the middle of it all, you see Rodgers trying to hold everything together with duct tape and sheer will. Look, nobody's saying he's been perfect. There have been some real head-scratching throws. Against Seattle, a few passes just slammed into the dirt like he forgot to plant his feet. Against New England, one of the picks was so bad it looked like he mistook a Patriots defender for a teammate. Just handed the ball over like it was a practice drill. But here's the thing. Even with those ugly moments, you can still see the arm talent. You can still see the processing speed, the ability to read a defense, to adjust to the line, to lead. That hasn't gone anywhere. What's missing is the trust between Rodgers and the offensive line, the trust between Rodgers and the play calling, and maybe most importantly, the trust between the staff and Rodgers to let him do what he does best. And I get it. It's early in the season. Everyone's still figuring things out. But time's ticking. This is Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. Not some rookie you can slowly bring along, not a project quarterback you're hoping to develop over a few years. This is a guy who's here to win right now. And if the offense keeps treating him like he's just another piece of the puzzle instead of the one holding the box, then what's the point? Why even bring him in? The weirdest part is no one's really talking about this yet. Not loudly. Not directly. There's no pitchfork brigade coming for Rodgers. But you can feel the tension brewing. You hear people grumble about the lack of explosive plays. You see fans online asking why everything looks so mechanical, so cautious. And you start to wonder, how long until someone points the finger? How long until that steady simmer of doubt turns into full-blown outrage? That's why I'm stepping in now, because I don't think Rodgers is the problem. In fact, I think he's the one thing keeping this whole thing from falling apart. And if you want to know what's really going on, just take a look at the play charts. Look at where the ball is going, short, sideways, behind the line of scrimmage. Look at how fast he's getting rid of it. That's not a guy running his offense. That's a guy trying to survive it. So maybe it's time to stop acting like this is just growing pains and start treating it like a wake-up call. Maybe it's time for Rodgers to push a little harder behind the scenes, to say, this isn't good enough. And I know he's not the type to throw people under the bus. He's not going to stand up in front of the media and blast his offensive line. He's not going to name names or point fingers. But behind closed doors, in those film rooms, in those meetings with Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin, that's where the message needs to be delivered. That's where Rodgers needs to say, give me 3 seconds. That's all I need. Just let me work. Because if he gets those 3 seconds, if he gets even a sliver of time to actually set his feet, scan the field, and make the kind of throws that only a handful of quarterbacks can make, this offense transforms. Suddenly, the tight ends become weapons. Suddenly, the field opens up. Suddenly, those checkdowns become intentional, not desperate. But none of that can happen unless the line holds up, unless the coaches trust him to stretch the field, unless the scheme evolves. And let's be clear, this isn't just about the offensive line failing to block. It's about how that failure has forced the entire offense into a shell. It's about how the coaching staff has reacted by dialing everything back instead of stepping up and addressing the real issue. You've got a quarterback who thrives on taking calculated risks, and you've shackled him with a playbook that treats every throw like a potential disaster. That's not just limiting, that's demoralizing. What's even more frustrating is knowing that Rodgers is willing to take the heat. He's not ducking responsibility. He's not blaming the system or the staff or the players around him. He's owning it, even when he shouldn't have to. And that's what makes him such a leader, because even when things go wrong, he doesn't deflect. He doesn't hide. But at some point, the team has to meet him halfway. At some point, the coaches have to stop protecting him from the offense and start building the offense around him. If they don't, then what are we even doing here? Why put him in this position just to handcuff him with horizontal throws and conservative play calls? Why waste the tail end of a legendary career on a system that's afraid to take a shot? The fans aren't blind. They can see what's happening. They can see the offense sputtering. And if things don't change soon, if Rodgers isn't given the tools and the freedom to do what he was brought here to do, then the questions are only going to get louder. And they won't just be about Rodgers. They'll be about the people around him who refuse to let him lead. And that's where the heart of this issue lies. This isn't about bad luck. It's not about rust. It's not even about Rodgers needing more time to adjust. This is about a system that refuses to adapt to the strengths of the man running it. You don't sign Aaron Rodgers and then run a playbook designed for a backup quarterback who's just trying to avoid mistakes. You don't bring in one of the smartest, most instinctive quarterbacks in the history of the league and force him to operate on a leash so tight he can't even look downfield. What you do, if you really believe in him, is you let him take control. You hand him the keys and say, lead us. Because if he can't do that, if you don't allow him to do that, then why is he even here? The structure of the offense right now is the football equivalent of painting by numbers. Safe routes, designed throws, a heavy dose of bubble screens, quick slants, everything built to get the ball out in under 2 seconds. It's conservative, it's calculated, and worst of all, it's predictable. It tells you everything you need to know about how much or how little faith the coaching staff has in the offensive line. But what it also says, maybe without realizing it, is that they don't believe Rodgers can carry the offense unless everything is perfectly protected. And that's just false. That's a complete misunderstanding of who Rodgers is and what he brings to a team. He's not a robot. He's not a cog in a system. He's a creator, a playmaker, a guy who turns chaos into opportunity, who finds receivers in the tiniest windows, who sees things before they happen. That's what makes him different. That's what makes him special. But none of that can show up on game day when his first read is a horizontal pass and his second read is a check down. There's no improvisation in this offense, no creativity, no space to breathe. It's just snaps and throws and pray someone makes a play after the catch. That's not football. That's playing scared. And if you're Rodgers right now, how do you not feel suffocated? How do you not feel like your hands are tied behind your back while everyone keeps asking why the offense isn't scoring more? He's still making throws that only a handful of quarterbacks can make. He's still seeing the field with clarity. But when the structure around him breaks down, and it has repeatedly, there's no plan B. Because the playbook doesn't seem to have one. It doesn't help that the offensive line looks like it's been built out of paper mache. One missed assignment and the whole thing caves in. And yet somehow, we still have grading services out there giving these linemen high marks, as if the game tape is lying. As if Rodgers running for his life every third down is some kind of illusion. It's not. It's very real. And it's happening because the line can't hold up, and the coaching staff is responding by shrinking the offense instead of rising to the challenge. That's backwards thinking. Rodgers isn't the kind of quarterback who needs protection from his own offense. He needs to be unleashed. He needs freedom. He needs a game plan that doesn't just try to avoid failure, but actually aims to win. Right now, this team is settling. They're settling for field goals when they should be chasing touchdowns. They're settling for safe instead of smart. And they're asking Rodgers to do something that, frankly, he's never done in his career. Play small. So what's the fix? It's not revolutionary. It's not even that complicated. You build the offense around the quarterback, not around your fears. You stop pretending this is a team that needs to win every game 17-13, and you start using your biggest weapon to its full potential. That means more deep shots. That means more intermediate routes over the middle. That means using the tight ends, who, by the way, are some of the most underutilized weapons in football right now. You can't keep treating these guys like blockers who catch once a month. You can't keep ignoring the mismatch opportunities they bring. Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, these guys should be nightmares for opposing defenses. Instead, they're footnotes. And look, there's a reason the fans are asking questions. There's a reason you hear frustration about scheme and play calling and execution. Because they're watching the same thing every week. They're seeing the same scripted offense roll out every Sunday. And they're wondering why nothing changes. Why there's no adjustment, no aggression. Why everything feels like it's stuck in neutral. It would be one thing if Rodgers looked like he was fading. If he looked timid. If he looked lost. But he doesn't. He looks ready. He looks like a quarterback who knows the answers but keeps being handed the wrong test. That's the part that stings the most, because the solution is already wearing the jersey. He just needs the coaches to stop micromanaging every possession and let him do what he's done his entire career, take over games. And don't confuse that with freelancing. This isn't about chaos or throwing the playbook out the window. It's about building structure that fits your star, not the other way around. Rodgers isn't asking for gimmicks. He's asking for logic. He's asking for routes that develop. He's asking for protection that gives him time. He's asking for faith. Faith that if you just let him operate like himself, he'll get you where you want to go. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The Pittsburgh Steelers might be stirring the waters of the NFL offseason, and whispers around the league suggest that Lazard could be the latest piece to fill a long-standing void. Sources close to the team hint that Lazard's arrival isn't just a routine signing. It could signal a serious shakeup in the wide receiver core, long seen as a patchwork rather than a polished unit. Insiders suggest that the veteran presence Lazard brings could finally give the Steelers a reliable option to stretch the field and mentor the younger talent, a move many fans have been quietly hoping for. According to chatter in Pittsburgh circles, Lazard's signing isn't just about raw stats. Observers note his ability to read defenses and his consistent route running could help organize a wide receiver room that has been criticized for inconsistency. The locker room buzz reportedly revolves around the idea that his work ethic and leadership might instill a sense of order in a group that has struggled to find a rhythm in recent seasons. Some say the Steelers' front office sees this as a low-risk, high-reward addition. If Lazard clicks with quarterback Kenny Pickett early in training camp, it could change the dynamic of Pittsburgh's passing game entirely. Fans are already speculating wildly. Social media threads are buzzing with scenarios where Lazard becomes the go-to option on third downs or the X-receiver the team has lacked since the days of Antonio Brown. A few insiders suggest that this move might be part of a larger, more ambitious plan to revamp the offense, with coaches hoping to finally create a balanced attack that can keep pace with the high-flying offenses dominating the AFC. While nothing is official beyond the announcement, the murmurs suggest that Lazard's presence might be just the spark the Steelers need to turn their wide receiver situation from a question mark into a headline-worthy strength. Whether Lazard can truly organize the core and elevate the team remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. Pittsburgh is watching, and the rumor mill has never been this excited. The buzz around town is that the Steelers might have just pulled a quiet but potentially game-changing move, and eyes will be glued to the first preseason snaps to see if the veteran receiver can indeed fill the gap and become the anchor the team has long sought. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.